Please take your seats. Thank you, Attorney Manny. You definitely are a Philippinian, and for having favored me with a great introduction. The City Mayor, Honorable Felipe Antonio Remolyo, the City Vice Mayor and Honorable Members of the City Council or the Sangguniang Panlungsod, Government Support Services officers and staff, those entrusted with the justice, peace, and order of this locality, fellow educators, freedom-loving citizens, a blessed 121st anniversary of the proclamation of the Philippine independence. Our dear City Mayor actually sent me a text at the end of the last working day last week. And then I followed it up with a call to the mayor. And in that call, he said, I'm going to give you an assignment, he said. So a thought bubble formed. Am I free to say no? Here, my own freedom or independence in taking action was immediately influenced by a sense of interdependence, where I knew that it takes various sectors, as you all are here now, to celebrate a national event. So here I am, Mayor, to freely take the assignment, deep in the belief, cherishing the value and significance of this event. By a presidential proclamation, we Filipinos mark June 12, 1898 as our day of declaration of independence from the Spanish rule. The theme offered by the Department of Education this year is Kalayaan, Pagbabagong Ipinaglaban, Alay sa Masaganang Kinabukasan. The reforms we fought for, our offer for a productive, bountiful future. This year's national theme, Tapang ng Bayan, Malasakit sa Mamamayan, speaks of the country's resolve and courage to demonstrate compassion towards its people. The first three paragraphs of Proclamation number 28, Series 1962, declaring June 12 as Philippine Independence Day states, and I quote, whereas the establishment of the Philippine Republic by the revolutionary government under General Emilio Aguinaldo on June 12, 1898, marked our people's declaration and exercise of their right to self-determination, liberty, and independence. Whereas such a historic and inspiring action was a legitimate assertion by the Filipino nation of its natural and inalienable claim to freedom and independence, which is an inherent right of every people, not dependent upon the will and discretion of another. And Whereas the transcendental importance of the event demands that it be observed throughout the land with fitting ceremonies to the end that it will be cherished forever in the hearts of the Filipino people and inspire them and posterity to greater dedication and endeavor for the welfare of the country and the well-being of mankind. As a dutiful citizen of this city and our country, and as an educator, I am on the watch for teaching or learning moments implicit in our national commemorations. One of the lessons that we all can get from this event is the historic and inspiring action by Emilio Aguinaldo and compatriots demonstrates our legitimate assertion of our natural and inalienable claim to freedom and independence, our right to self-determination, liberty, and independence. By all accounts, you, I, all of us need to exercise at all costs our freedom of thinking and doing. Second, the event is observed throughout the land with fitting ceremonies, and you can imagine how many other cities and places are there celebrations of this kind, and may be different in terms of composition and size, but one in the spirit of our proclamation of Philippine independence. Our commemoration of Philippine Independence Day, therefore, challenges me, and I hope you as well, as educators and learners of the world. How do we make the commemoration fitting enough to inspire positive commitments to stewardship and responsibility over our claim to freedom? Are we exercising freedom and giving that value its honor? 121 years after the event, we must ask ourselves, are we really free? Do we in Dumaguete today really share a common bond with the patriots of Cavite who began our struggle for freedom? Think how much the country and each barangay in it has changed over this 121 years. Each of us remembers in our own families those whose lives were sacrificed to secure our independence against colonizers who would try to take these islands and exploit them for their own narrow purposes. My father and mother, I'm proud to say, were part of the Filipino resistance in Leyte and helped clear the way for the return of President Osmeña after the Battle of Leyte Gulf. I'm sure each one of you has your own remembrances. And I'm sure each one of you has taken action against modern forms of colonization. Do our lives today actually honor the sacrifices they made so that we can all act, think, and feel free. The conditions are different, and our responses may vary. We may not face the threat of an invasion by an expanding empire seeking to impose its rule through military occupation. The challenges we face are far more subtle and harder to deal with. Take, for example, our preoccupation with the internet, with the social media. To what extent have those, for good or bad, invaded our own personal, political, public, religious, and other aspects of life? In an era of globalization, in which the world not only beckons us, but comes to us through social media and the internet, we live at a time when we are almost instantaneously aware of things happening all around the world, real or fake news. And I hope that we are able to decipher which one is real and which one's fake. And we know that our lives, for good or for ill, are shaped by these forces. Think of catastrophic climate change. Think of shifting political alliances in which we may no longer be able to rely on our friends. Think of the rise of populisms so eerily reminiscent of past dictatorships. Think of the pervasive corruption that plays into the hands of the populists, a crisis in illegal drug trafficking, masterminded by foreign networks of organized criminals, and unresolved questions regarding the role of religions in our society, just to name some, because we know there are more. Thinking of these challenges, we must now ask, what is independence in an era of interdependence? In our frustrations with so many challenges, will we reduce independence to playing with the symbols of national chauvinism? Will we succumb to the temptation to fear all foreigners and try to purify the country by sending the message for them to go home? On the other hand, will we simply ignore the problems and leave the public square open only to the strutting of demagogues, all too ready to profit from our fears? Maintaining Philippine independence, as Jose Rizal surely would counsel us, requires boundaries and adherence to values and the rule of law. Survival in an interdependent world requires patience and intellectual honesty, as well as a sense of history and confidence in the basic goodness and resourcefulness of all Filipino people. It requires a sense of realism about what is possible in public life. On this day, it is easy to chant the slogans of self-determination. But we must also ask ourselves, are there limits to self-determination? In asserting the claims of independence, we must avoid the jingoistic chauvinism in thought, word, and deed that actually weakens our security instead of promoting our own self-interests as a nation. Calls for independence, oblivious to the realities of interdependence, can actually undermine our freedom and security. Silliman University and all other institutions all over the world, and ultimately other social groups. These are institutions that thrive on interdependence while seeking to ensure that it can be nurtured for the common good of all. By increasing our capacities for cooperation, partnership, mutual respect, and working together for shared goals. In our commitment to securing the benefits of interdependence for all, we join our partners in the City Hall, the business sector, the police and military, as well as non-governmental and people's groups, whose independence also depends on building our capacities for interdependence. We at Silliman University are proud to share a common fate with the people of Dumaguete, the province of Negros Oriental, and the nation of the Philippines. May we all thank God for the blessings of freedom and security, and remember those who have worked so hard to secure them. Happy Independence Day.